So, what's up, y'all? Okay, so this one is going to be these next two. I think are going to be combined into this video because they're not too crazy. So let's get straight into it. This is about manifesting a tenant. And what's the next one? It's like a medical recovery. So let us read. So this case is interesting. There's because of the short interval of time between the application and the visible manifestation. There's a lot of them that are kind of short in in manifesting and actualizing, and I used to get them all down. Like, okay, what are the qualities or what are the commonalities between the stories of like really fast manifestations? And that's not the way to do it. So if anyone who's here, paying super close attention to the time, time is not a factor in the application of the law of assumption, and at least I don't think so. And this is according to what Neville said later, where each event or each something has its own time. The law of assumption doesn't say anything about time in it. It just says to assume what you want, and it'll happen. The timing is based on other factors that I am not completely sure of yet. Well, not that anybody is. I'll talk about naturalness later. I think actually in the story. Anyway, so this was a short manifestation, or it came about pretty quickly. So a prominent woman maintained a lovely city apartment and a country home, but she needed to rent her apartment if they wanted to spend the summer at the country home. And in previous years, it was kind of easy to do, but for months, the real estate agents couldn't find anyone to see it even. All right. So he explained, like all the other ones, I'm assuming to everyone new to the law of assumption, how the law of assumption could be used to solve the problem. So by imagining, I think I put this down. Okay, by imagining the apartment had been rented by a person desiring immediate occupancy, and by assuming that this was the case, her apartment would be rented. That's it. Just assume what you want. In order to create the necessary, okay. He emphasizes naturalness in this book. I think that he doesn't put emphasis on it in later lectures. I know that he puts emphasis, like he shifts emphasis to each having its own time, and the nature of being, and of like creator and God, as well as like he goes real super in depth about the Bible and the significances of passages in there, in the passages that he talk about. But yeah, someone correct me if I'm wrong about the naturalness, because I think his view on that changes. He told somebody to drift off to sleep, imagining herself in that place. And maybe this is the best way to teach someone, instead of having them go through all the fundamentals and having them stretch their not learning through experience. Yeah, okay. So I mean, whatever, this is an educational channel, or I try to have it be an educational channel. So anyway, first thing Neville says is that by assuming that what she wanted would happen, it would happen. And to make that happen, to ensure that she imagined the correct thing, she was going to do this: drift off to sleep, imagining where she was if the apartment were suddenly rented. Right. So I kind of ruined the story, but let's move on here. See if we have anything else. Okay, so that's the basics of that, before it actually happened. Okay, so he says he told her that on Thursday she quickly grasped the idea and said that she would, in her imagination, sleep in her country home because that would assume that her apartment was rented. Okay, so Thursday, and then Saturday morning, she phoned me from the home in the country, and she told Neville that on Thursday night she fell asleep actually imagining and feeling that she was sleeping in her other bed. And then on Friday the next day, highly desirable tenant rented it on that day, and he moved in that same day. So the conviction, quickly grasping the idea, um, maybe led her to believe in the premise. I think maybe manifestation is based on belief, but this was no, no. Time is independent of, of manifestation because it says that the kid did that too. The kid quickly grasped it, but it took weeks. All right. Some happen quickly, some happen no, some happen not quickly, and we don't know why yet. Why some things happen sooner than others. I think. All right, next case study is medical recovery. So I think what I like about these stories is that they're so varied. He shows through example that yeah, you can get out of the military, you can get a little puppy, you can become insanely rich. You can just like get a new tent, like all these different stories should show the reader that you can do whatever you want. If the fundamental concepts are hard to grasp for someone, then the stories could bolster the belief that the law of assumption permeates all of reality. Okay, so let's continue to read. Okay, so he says the most complete and intense use. So this is different. This is different from the other ones. Most complete and intense use of law of assumption could have produced such results in this extreme situation. I don't know. I mean, do you need to assume that your consciousness is completely what? And do you need to change the state of your consciousness to assume to be in the state of whatever you want or have whatever you want? Yeah, that's fine. But to the degree that you have to, that he uses the word intense here, um, intense or not, uh, intensity, I think, feel free to correct me, is independent of assuming a state of consciousness. It can feel intense, sure, but the state of assuming what you want and having what you want is it either is or isn't, and it can be intense, it can be real shallow, you can like forget about it right as soon as you go through the scene or believe. Yeah, I don't think intensity has anything to do with. So I don't. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because I don't want you to look at the word intense and be like, oh man, I got it to be intense. If you're in a situation where you have to solve a big problem, like something that is emotionally very emotional, and I think that situations, because we are limited in our human capacity to limit the degree to which we react emotionally towards things, and I think that um, that limits our ability to assume the state of consciousness that we want. So if you're in a similar situation, uh, even though he says only the most complete and intense use, that separates manifestations. Like it puts levels of manifestations where I don't think there should be. I don't think that just because it's an extreme situation that you need to have an intensely use the law of assumption. That's just opinions welcome. All right. 4 years ago, a friend of our family talked with a 20-year-old son who was expected to die. He was suffering from a rare heart disease and disintegrated. Yeah, resulted in disintegrating his heart. So doctors said there was no hope. Long, costly medical care. He had been confined to his bed and he shrunk to almost a skeleton, and he breathed with great difficulty. So all these factors that obstacles. So these are just obstacles here. They don't matter. No matter what situation, the law of assumption permeates. Okay, so wife is present. Okay, so and he introduces the same thing, and he says that there's only one solution: change of attitude or change of consciousness or whatever. It's same thing. Since talking exhausted him, he nodded in agreement. If he understood, he was to nod if he were to understand what Neville said. And he agreed. He described the facts underlying the law of consciousness. All right, so never mind. Um, I don't know, man. Because in the other story, he and so the thing in question here is how best to teach the law, and maybe for some people, maybe everybody's different. Maybe for some people it's better to explain the facts of the law of consciousness, and some people it may hinder their progress in using the law of assumption, because it happens either way. And so maybe for some people events like, oh wow, I can think of stuff and it'll happen. But whereas others, kind of like me, need to know why something works before doing it. I mean, I suspended my belief, but I like finding out the fundamentals. Anyway, so he described the facts of law of consciousness. Consciousness is the only reality. The only way to change the state was change any condition was to change. You have to change the state of consciousness to change any condition. Okay, and then as an aid, this is a technique here. Imagination is another one. Imagination is going to see the doctor's face, expressing incredulous amazement to find him recovered. So he's to aid his change of consciousness. Okay, so first, okay, so these are two facts that he told him, just to put it into so you can see it. Well, I didn't put that in there, but as an aid to changing the state of consciousness. So the main purpose is in using the law of assumption is to change concept of self. I'm just going to put concept of self, change of attitude, whatever. It's all contingent on on awareness. I think anyway. And there's various tools. There's various ways to get to. Here to change your state. Okay. There's SATs where there's falling asleep. Maybe I'll make a. Now there's probably a post on Reddit or something. And this one is just to straight imagine, which is an imagination to see the doctor's face, expressing incredulous amazement to find him recovered. Double checking the examination. Okay, hearing him say over and over, it's a miracle. So he went in pretty clearly, very detailed. He to imagine the scene, but again, it's an aid. Okay, it's an aid to it's a means to the end. So these are the means. So just like imagination. So this, let's see if I can do it. Oh, baby, almost, no, whatever. So this is the means. This is the end, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna do that again, whatever. This is the, okay, this is the end. All right. Okay, so he's gonna incredulous to see that the dog is I guess mind blown. He not only understood it, but he believed it implicitly. How Neville did this, I don't know. I'm just gonna take it as a word. Regardless, that's the belief is another requirement. I should put that in here. So to put a bird's eye view, bird's eye view, Neville establishes the facts to someone, and then in and he establishes the purpose here, which is the change of consciousness, change of attitude, change concept of self. Oh yeah, and then to do that, he says to imagine a scene that would imply his wish were fulfilled. And then like step 4 or whatever is believing and understanding it and then believing it implicitly. So that is important. I don't have specific tips on believing something that is unbelievable. Just, I mean, if you're at your end, and you know the universe, God, whatever, your greater self may put you in a situation where you have no choice but to believe in the law of assumption. And yeah, so maybe regardless, this is how the story goes. Okay, he promised that he would faithfully follow it, and the wife is going to also use the law of assumption in the same way that the husband did. Okay, and then he sailed for New York. Neville did. And several months later, he got a letter saying the son made a miraculous recovery. And he met him in person. The son was in perfect health, engaged in business, and thoroughly enjoying as many social activities as friends and family. So he said, the son said that he told him from the day he left, never had any doubt at all that it would work. That's just, to me right now, that's like insane to me. Like no doubts at all. But again, his life is different. He was in different circumstances. Anyway, so that's a foundational thing in applying the law. So believing, not having any doubt. I think, well, I don't think that it's a foundational thing for everyone. But here, he didn't have any doubt. Maybe this is something to strive for eventually. Like, don't. If you're looking at this, oh no, I can't have any doubts. No, that doesn't matter. I think that doesn't, because I've had doubts on my manifestations, and they've come about either way. So anyway, so after he didn't have any doubts, from that foundation, he faithfully followed the suggestion and day after day lived completely in the assumption. So he not only imagined that the doctor, or I guess it didn't say that he imagined the exact scene that Neville said, but he lived completely in the assumption of being well and strong. So this is another. I'm going to write them all down, or maybe not. Maybe I'll just curate them and talk about them. Or maybe no. I'm gonna stick with fundamentals. Maybe. Anyway, so living in the end. Oops, in the end. Okay, you can totally read that. Okay, so that's what Neville says the son did. First believe, then live in the assumption that wish fulfilled. And then 4 years after, the only reason he's here is because he used the law of assumption. All right, we're at about 20 minutes. Okay, yeah, cool. So next we're gonna go about, a business one for all you business guys out there. We're gonna talk about a really cool business story. This one happened fairly quickly. Who knows what we'll find out when we go over it. Stay tuned. Tune in next time where I'll maybe make more guesses that'll put me in hot water. Who knows? All right, bye guys.